Disarmament, with mutual honor and confidence, is a continuing imperative. Together we must learn how to compose differences, not with arms, but with intellect and decent purpose. Because this need is so sharp and apparent. I confess that I lay down my official responsibilities in this field with a definite sense of disappointment. As one who has witnessed the horror and the lingering sadness of war. As one who knows that another war could utterly destroy the civilization which has been so slowly and painfully built over thousands of years. I wish I could say tonight that a lasting peace is in sight. Happily, I can say that war has been avoided. Steady progress toward our ultimate goal has been made. But so much remains to be done. As a private citizen, I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road. So, in this, my last good night to you as your president. I thank you for the many opportunities you have given me for public service in war and in peace. I trust in that service you find some things worthy. As for the rest of it, I know you will find ways to improve performance in the future. You and I, my fellow citizens, need to be strong in our faith that all nations under God, will reach the goal of peace with justice. May we be ever unswerving in devotion to principle. Confident but humble with power, diligent in pursuit of the nation's great goals. To all the peoples of the world, I once more give expression to America's prayerful and continuing aspiration. We pray that peoples of all faiths, all races, all nations may have their great human needs satisfied, that those now denied opportunity shall come to enjoy it to the full. That all who yearn for freedom may experience its few spiritual blessings. Those who have freedom will understand, also, its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made to disappear from the earth, and that in the goodness of time. All peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. Now, on Friday noon, I am to become a private citizen. I am proud to do so. I look forward to it. Thank you, and good night. Eleanor Roosevelt. The struggle for human rights. Delivered September 28, 1948, Paris, France. I have come this evening to talk with you on one of the greatest issues of our time, that is the preservation of human freedom. I have chosen to discuss it here in France, at the Sorbonne. Because here in this soil the roots of human freedom have long ago struck deep, and here they have been richly nourished. It was here the Declaration of the Rights of Man was proclaimed. And the great slogans of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity. Fired the imagination of men. I have chosen to discuss this issue in Europe because this has been the scene of the greatest historic battles between freedom and tyranny. I have chosen to discuss it in the early days of the General Assembly because the issue of human liberty is decisive for the settlement of outstanding political differences and for the future of the United Nations. The decisive importance of this issue was fully recognized by the founders of the United Nations at San Francisco. Concern for the preservation and promotion of human rights and fundamental freedom stands at the heart of the United Nations. Its charter is distinguished by its preoccupation with the rights and welfare of individual men and women. The United Nations has made it clear that it intends to uphold human rights and to protect the dignity of the human personality. In the preamble to the Charter, the keynote is set when it declares, "We the people of the United Nations determined to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom." This reflects the basic premise of the Charter that the peace and security of mankind are dependent on mutual respect for the rights and freedoms of all. One of the purposes of the United Nations is declared in Article 1 to be to achieve international cooperation in solving international problems of an economic, social, cultural, or humanitarian character, and in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. This thought is repeated at several points and notably in Articles 55 and 56. The members pledge themselves to take joint and separate action in cooperation with the United Nations for the promotion of universal respect for, and observance of, human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. The Human Rights Commission was given as its first and most important task the preparation of an international Bill of Rights. The General Assembly, which opened its third session here in Paris a few days ago, will have before it the first fruit of the Commission's labors in this task, that is the International Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration was finally completed after much work during the last session of the Human Rights Commission in New York in the spring of 1948. The Economic and Social Council has sent it without recommendation to the General Assembly. Together with other documents transmitted by the Human Rights Commission. It was decided in our commission that a Bill of Rights should contain two parts. One, a declaration which could be approved through action of the member states of the United Nations in the General Assembly. This declaration would have great moral force. And would say to the peoples of the world, this is what we hope human rights may mean to all people in the years to come. We have put down here the rights that we consider basic for individual human beings the world over to have. Without them, we feel that the full development of individual personality is impossible. To the second part of the bill, which the Human Rights Commission has not yet completed because of the lack of time. is a covenant which would be in the form of a treaty to be presented to the nations of the world. Each nation, as it is prepared to do so, would ratify this covenant, and the covenant would then become binding on the nations which adhere to it. Each nation ratifying would then be obligated to change its laws. Wherever they did not conform to the points contained in the covenant. This covenant, of course, would have to be a simpler document. It could not state aspirations, which we feel to be permissible in the Declaration. It could only state rights which could be assured by law, and it must contain methods of implementation. And no state ratifying the covenant could be allowed to disregard it. The methods of implementation have not yet been agreed upon. Nor have they been given adequate consideration by the Commission at any of its meetings. There certainly should be discussion on the entire question of this World Bill of Human Rights. And there may be acceptance by this assembly of the Declaration if they come to agreement on it. The acceptance of the Declaration, I think, should encourage every nation in the coming months to discuss. Its meaning with its people, so that they will be better prepared to accept the covenant with a deeper understanding of the problems involved when that is presented, we hope, a year from now, and, we hope, accepted. The Declaration has come from the Human Rights Commission with unanimous acceptance except for 4 abstentions. The USSR, Yugoslavia, Ukraine, and Belarusia. The reason for this is a fundamental difference in the conception of human rights as They exist in these states and in certain other member states in the United Nations. In the discussion before the Assembly, I think it should be made crystal clear what these differences are, and tonight I want to spend a little time making them clear to you. It seems to me there is a valid reason for taking the time today to think carefully and clearly on the subject of human rights, because in the acceptance and observance of these rights lies the root. I believe, of our chance of peace in the future. And for the strengthening of the United Nations organization to the point where it can maintain peace in the future. We must not be confused about what freedom is. Basic human rights are simple and easily understood: freedom of speech and a free press. Freedom of religion and worship, freedom of assembly and the right of petition. The right of men to be secure in their homes and free from unreasonable search and seizure and from arbitrary arrest and punishment. We must not be deluded by the efforts of the forces of reaction to prostitute. The great words of our free tradition and thereby to confuse the struggle. Democracy, freedom, human rights have come to have a definite meaning to the people of the world which we must not allow any nation to so change that they are made synonymous with suppression and dictatorship. There are basic differences that show up even in the use of words between a democratic and a totalitarian country. For instance, democracy means one thing to the USSR and another the USA and I know, in France. I have served since the first meeting of the nuclear Commission on the Human Rights Commission, and I think this point stands out clearly.